I never thought I'd hear his voice again. Not after 15 long years. And yet that night, my dead son reached out. At 3 in the morning, I still remember it like yesterday. The clock on my bedside table glowed 3:02 a.m. The house was silent except for the old wooden floor creaking under my restless feet. I had just woken up from that same recurring dream, my son smiling, laughing, calling me Mom. Only to wake up, empty arms, empty room. I rubbed my eyes and froze. My phone was lighting up. A number I knew by heart. A number I hadn't seen in 15 years. My son's number, Charles, my boy, my eldest. My heart had stopped once and it was stopping again. At first, I thought it was some cruel prank. A wrong number. A glitch in the system? My hands shook as I reached for it. And then a text message popped up. Mom, I'm here. The room spun. I stumbled back into my chair, gripping the armrest as if it could hold me upright. I whispered into the dark, No. This can't be real, He's gone. But the phone kept buzzing. Another text. I need you to listen. Everything you knew. It was only part of the truth. Truth. That word hit me harder than grief itself. Because grief, as heavy as it is, at least has boundaries. Truth? Truth can tear everything apart. I remember the sound of the wind outside my window, rustling leaves, the faint hum of the street lamp. Nothing in the world could have prepared me for the sound of that notification. I dialed the number without thinking. My fingers betrayed me, trembling against the cold plastic of the phone. I heard the dial tone, then a click, then a voice I thought I would never hear. Mom? It was him, my Charles, my dead Charles. I gasped and dropped the phone onto the quilt. My heart hammered so loudly I thought my neighbors must hear it. I stared at the screen, convinced I was losing my mind. Then, I felt it, a presence. Not just in the room, but inside me. A pull I couldn't explain. I ran to the porch, gripping the railing as if it would keep me anchored to reality. And I whispered to the night sky, If this is you, show me. Tell me. Anything. And that's when it all began. The unraveling of 15 years of silence. The secrets my son had carried, and the messages that would lead me down a path I never imagined. Because sometimes, the dead have messages that the living aren't ready to hear. I walked through the quiet house, clutching my phone like a lifeline. The old carpet smelled faintly of lavender. The kitchen counters were cold under my fingers, and the distant hum of the refrigerator sounded louder than usual. Everything felt sharper, clearer, and yet, I was terrified. I knew I had to get proof. Not that I doubted him. But the world had taught me to be cautious, especially after losing him so suddenly. 15 years ago, that accident had shattered my world. I had buried him along with my own hopes and dreams, and now, he was reaching through the veil, through the impossible, demanding my attention. I remember pacing the living room, thinking about my late husband, my other children, my neighbors. None of them would believe me. They would think I'd lost it, that I was imagining things, but I knew the voice. I knew the tone. I knew him, and then another text. Mom, meet me at the old pier. Midnight tomorrow, alone. I froze. The pier, where we used to fish, where he learned to skip stones, where we had our last goodbye 15 years ago. I whispered to myself, this can't be happening. Not to me. But a part of me, a part buried under years of sorrow and guilt, knew I had no choice. I had to go. I had to know. That night I barely slept. The wind howled outside, brushing against the windows like it was carrying whispers of the past. I held my son's number in my hands, praying that I wasn't stepping into madness. And yet, deep down, I felt a strange, undeniable hope. Because sometimes, miracles come wrapped in fear. And messages from the dead are the beginning of uncovering truths the living were never ready to face. Tomorrow night, I would see him again, and nothing would ever be the same. Stories her heart holds. The next day, I didn't know whether I was walking toward a miracle or madness, but I had to go. My dead son was waiting at the pier. Morning came with an uneasy quiet. The sun rose over our small town, painting the streets golden, yet it didn't bring warmth. I moved through the house like a ghost, making coffee I couldn't drink, glancing at photographs lining the walls. Charles smiling at 10, then 14, then in his last family photo before everything ended. I touched each frame, whispering, "Please be real." I didn't dare tell anyone. Not my daughters-in-law, not the neighbors, not even my surviving son, Henry. They'd think I'd lost my mind. After 15 years, grief had already branded me fragile. If I admitted this, they'd call the doctor or worse. So I kept it to myself, pacing the kitchen, phone clutched tight. I cleaned. Old habits, a coping mechanism. I wiped down the counter 3 times, rearranged the mail, checked the locks, checked the phone again. Each notification had me jumping. Every vibration, every ping felt like a drumbeat in my chest. By mid-morning, I made a list, a mental checklist for the impossible meeting. Wear something comfortable. Nothing flashy. Bring the phone, fully charged. Leave a note somewhere in case something goes wrong. The note was simple. If anything happens to me, know I went to meet my son. My handwriting trembled as I wrote. I folded it, tucked it into my wallet. My chest tightened. 15 years of silence had taught me to fear the unexpected, and yet, there was an excitement too, sharp and electric. I wandered the yard, staring at the old oak tree that had been Charles's favorite. I remembered climbing it with him when he was 6. We had laughed until our sides hurt, and I'd scolded him for getting too high. That memory, so vivid, made my stomach twist. Could it really be him? Or was this some cruel trick? I called the pier office. "Is anyone there today?" My voice cracked. Only silence replied. No one could stop me from going, I realized. The pier was ours, the place of memories, of laughter, of the last goodbye. And that's where I had to be. I spent the afternoon in a haze. I packed a small bag, water, flashlight, notebook, pen, my late husband's old pocket watch, just in case. Objects that smelled of safety, of the past. And all the while, my phone vibrated with anticipation. Another text, "I'll be there. Don't be late. And don't tell anyone." The words felt like a thread pulling me toward an unknown abyss. I shivered, wrapping a shawl around my shoulders. My hands shook, not from cold, but from the gravity of what I was about to do. By evening, the town settled into its quiet rhythm. Streetlights flickered on, casting long shadows. I made dinner I couldn't eat, poured tea I couldn't taste. Everything felt unreal, like I was watching my life from the outside. I sat on the porch, phone in hand, watching the sun disappear behind the rooftops. Thoughts tumbled over each other. What if this is real? What if he's really him? What if I'm losing my mind completely? 15 years of grief couldn't prepare me for this, and yet, hope crept in. A small trembling hope that maybe, just maybe, my boy wasn't completely gone. Camera. Zoom on her eyes reflecting the dim light, tear rolling down her cheek. Night fell. The phone buzzed again. A simple text this time. "Tomorrow. Midnight. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid." Words easier said than felt. I sat for hours, holding the phone like a lifeline, staring at the darkened street. I whispered to the stars, "If this is a dream, don't let me wake up yet. If it's real, guide me." I didn't sleep. I couldn't. Every shadow in the house seemed alive, moving closer. The grandfather clock ticked too loudly, echoing through the rooms. Every sound became amplified. The hum of the refrigerator, the soft scrape of a chair against the floor. My heart pounded, my chest ached, but I clung to that fragile hope. Midnight approached. I put on my coat, checked my bag once more, and held the phone against my chest. My breath caught in my throat as I stepped outside, the night cold against my face. Every step toward the pier felt like stepping into a story I didn't yet understand, a story where the living and the dead might collide. I paused at the edge of the road, looking toward the faint lights of the pier in the distance. "Here goes nothing, or everything," I whispered, and then I walked. Sound cue. Faint night wind, soft, echoing footsteps, distant waves lapping. I arrived at the pier just as the clock struck 12. The water shimmered faintly under the moonlight, rippling softly, reflecting the stars above. The old wood beneath my feet creaked with every step, familiar and unsettling at the same time. I gripped my coat tighter, the chill biting through the fabric, but it didn't matter. My mind was elsewhere, on him, on the impossible, on the boy I had buried 15 years ago. The pier was empty, except for the faint silhouette of a figure at the far end. My breath caught, my heart thundering so loudly I could hardly hear the waves. It was him, or at least it looked like him. The same posture, the same way he carried himself. My legs wanted to run, to flee, but something deeper held me in place. I had to see. I had to know. "Charles?" I whispered, my voice breaking. The figure turned slowly, and my knees weakened. His eyes, his unmistakable eyes, met mine. They were the same eyes I had loved, mourned, and dreamt about all these years. And yet, there was a softness to them, a quiet intensity that made my chest ache. I stumbled forward, stopping a few feet away, unsure whether to embrace him or fall to the ground. "Is it really you?" I asked, my voice trembling. I wanted to scream, to shout, to demand proof, but I was afraid of the answer. He nodded, faintly, a sad smile tugging at his lips. "Mom, it's me," he said, voice low, almost as if he had been afraid to speak for years. Tears blurred my vision. I wanted to run into his arms, to hold him, but something stopped me. It wasn't just disbelief. It was the weight of 15 years, of unanswered questions, of the life I had thought ended. How is this possible?" I managed to say. My hands shook, and I pressed them to my mouth, trying to steady my racing heart. He took a step closer, and I could see the exhaustion etched into his features. He looked older somehow, though impossibly the same. "Mom, I can't explain it all yet, but I needed you to see me, to hear me. You deserve to know the truth." I swallowed hard, struggling to breathe. My mind went back to that day, the accident, the funeral, the silence that followed, the grief that had hollowed me out. I had spent years blaming myself, questioning what I could have done differently. And now, here he was, not in my dreams, not in some fleeting memory, but here, alive, or something like it. "Tell me," I whispered. "Please, tell me everything." He nodded again, his eyes searching mine, and he began to speak. Slowly at first, hesitant, as if each word weighed a ton. He told me things I couldn't have imagined, things that had been hidden from me all these years, secrets about people I had trusted, decisions I had never known he had made, dangers I never saw coming. And through it all, the unmistakable presence of the boy I had lost, mixed with someone older, someone changed, but still my son. I listened, frozen in disbelief and awe. His voice carried the weight of years, but also a tenderness that made my heart ache. I wanted to reach out, to touch him, to confirm that this was real. But my mind kept whispering that I might vanish, that I might wake up and find myself alone, clutching the pier rail. Hours passed, or maybe minutes. Time seemed meaningless. He told me about the life he had led in secret, the dangers that had forced him away, the choices he had made to protect me and the family. I felt anger, relief, grief, and hope all at once. And then he paused, looking down at the water. "Mom, there's more," he said. "Things you need to see. Things you need to understand." I nodded, gripping my bag tightly. My body ached, but I didn't care. I needed to follow him, to uncover the truth he had carried for so long. And as we walked together along the pier, under the silver glow of the moon, I felt a strange mixture of fear and determination. I was stepping into the unknown, but I was not alone. That night, at the edge of the water, I realized that some truths are too heavy to be kept, some secrets too dangerous to stay buried, and some miracles, impossible as they seem, can reach across years, across grief, across death itself, to find you when you least expect it. And as he began to show me the first clue, the first sign of everything I had been missing, I understood that nothing in my life would ever be the same again. The pier was quiet except for the soft slap of water against the wooden posts. I followed him as he led me to a small, hidden alcove at the far end, a place I had never noticed before despite all the years I had walked this pier. My heart pounded, every step heavy with anticipation and fear. "Mom," he said, pausing, "you need to understand why I left, why I couldn't tell anyone, not even you." I swallowed hard, gripping my bag, my palms slick with sweat. "I've waited 15 years for this. I need the truth. Please don't hold back." He nodded and reached into his coat, pulling out a small folded envelope. "This is everything. Letters, documents, photos, things that were never meant for your eyes until now." I took the envelope with trembling hands. The paper was worn, as if it had been carried through storms and hidden in dark places. I opened it carefully. Inside were photographs I didn't recognize at first, notes in handwriting that was familiar, yet strange, receipts and tickets, evidence of a life I had never known my son had lived. He began to explain. There had been people, dangerous people, who had forced him into hiding. He had discovered things about our family, things that were hidden even from me. Lies, betrayals, and secrets that could have destroyed us all if they had ever been revealed. He had left to protect us, to keep the danger away, to ensure our lives remained safe. And he had been watching from the shadows all these years, waiting for the right moment to return. I felt a mix of shock and disbelief, anger and relief swirling in my chest. Why didn't you come back sooner? Why make me live all these years in grief?" He looked at me with eyes full of pain and remorse. "I had no choice. It wasn't safe for you, for anyone. I thought I could handle it alone. I thought I could keep everyone safe, but I couldn't stay away any longer. The risk is over now. You can know everything." I held back tears as I sifted through the envelope. Each photo, each note, each document revealed pieces of a puzzle I had never imagined. People I had trusted, people I had called friends, were connected to events I had only glimpsed in passing. The world I thought I knew was layered with secrets, shadows, and hidden dangers. But through it all, there was my son. He had carried the burden alone, surviving, hiding, protecting us without ever asking for recognition. And now, he was here, right in front of me, offering the truth I had longed for. I couldn't help the tears anymore. They flowed freely down my cheeks as I whispered, "All these years, I thought I was alone. I thought I had lost you forever." He reached out, placing a hand over mine. "You were never alone. I was always here, Mom, watching, waiting, hoping you'd understand someday." For a long moment, we sat there in silence, listening to the water, listening to the wind, letting the weight of 15 years settle around us. The world outside the pier felt distant, irrelevant. Only this moment mattered. Only the truth, finally revealed, mattered. Then he spoke again, his voice low, urgent. "There's more you need to know. Things that will change everything about what you believe happened, about what really caused the accident, about why I disappeared, about the people you trusted the most." I shivered, gripping the envelope tighter. My mind raced, heart hammering. The story I thought I knew, the story of grief, loss, and tragedy, was only part of the truth. The rest, the hidden part, was darker, more complex, and it had been kept from me deliberately. And as he began to explain the first secret, the one that would unravel everything I thought I knew about that fateful day, I realized that my life, my grief, my world was about to change forever. He took a deep breath and began, his voice low and deliberate, each word heavy with meaning. "Mom, the accident. It wasn't an accident." My stomach dropped. I wanted to deny it, to scream that it couldn't be true, but the way he looked at me, steady, sorrowful, yet resolute, made my heart seize with fear. "What? What do you mean?" I whispered, my voice trembling. He explained how certain people in our town, people I had trusted for years, had been involved in events that led to his disappearance. They had wanted to control something he knew, something he had stumbled upon without realizing the danger it carried. And when he confronted them, it became too dangerous to stay. He had faked his death to protect me, to protect our family, to shield us from harm. I sank to the edge of the pier, clutching the envelope tightly. The wind blew through my hair, whipping, my coat around me, and all I could hear was the pounding of my own heart. He's alive because he had to pretend he wasn't?" I whispered, feeling as though the ground had been ripped from beneath me. He nodded, his expression haunted. "I didn't want you to grieve like this, not for something that wasn't entirely real. But the truth had to wait. The danger had to pass first." I ran my fingers over the photos, over the notes. Faces I didn't recognize, names that didn't make sense at first, but now were pieces of a story I had never been allowed to see. Lies, betrayals, and secrets all intertwined, forming a web that had trapped my family in silence and grief for years. Tears streamed down my face as I whispered, "All this time, I blamed myself. I thought I could have done something. Anything." He took my hands in his, a reassuring touch I hadn't felt in 15 years. "Mom, none of this was your fault. You did everything a mother could do. The choices I made were mine, and I carried them alone. But now, it's time you knew everything." I felt anger rising, mingled with relief and disbelief. Anger at the people who had lied, who had forced him into hiding, who had kept me in darkness. Relief that my son was alive, that he was here, and that I could finally understand. Disbelief that the world I had trusted could be so cruel, yet so intertwined with his courage and sacrifice. He reached into the envelope again and handed me a letter, folded and marked with my name. My hands shook as I opened it. Inside were confessions, explanations, and the full account of what had really happened. The accident, the threats, the choices he had made. Each word cut deeper than any grief I had felt before, yet each also brought clarity, a painful but necessary healing. As I read, I realized that the boy I had lost had grown into a man who had carried unimaginable burdens alone. And now, he had returned. Not just to tell me the truth, but to give me a chance to reclaim the years lost to grief, to face the shadows that had haunted our family, and to find a way forward together. I looked up at him, my chest tight, tears still streaming. "Why now?" Why tell me now? Because the danger is gone. Because you deserve to know. Because it's time for us to face the truth together. The envelope still clutched in my hands. I followed him off the pier and toward a small path that led to the edge of town. The moon hung low, casting long, twisting shadows that seemed to dance with every step I took. My heart raced, not just from fear, but from the anticipation of finally facing the people who had kept my son away, who had stolen years from our lives. He paused at the edge of the path, looking back at me with those same eyes I had dreamed of for 15 years. Mom, once we step into this, there's no turning back. You need to be ready, I nodded, though my stomach knotted with dread. Ready? How could anyone be ready for the truth that had been hidden for so long? I had spent years grieving a death that wasn't entirely true, and now I was about to step into a confrontation that could change everything. The first house we approached belonged to someone I had trusted for years. Someone I had called a friend. I froze as my son approached the door, phone in hand, preparing to confront them directly. "They'll know I'm here," he said quietly. "They've been waiting for this moment too." "Be calm, Mom. Just stay behind me." I followed, hands trembling as he knocked. The door opened slowly, revealing a figure whose face I recognized immediately. Someone who had smiled, who had offered condolences, who had been present at the funeral all those years ago. And now, standing there, their smile was gone, replaced by something sharp, calculating, dangerous. "You shouldn't be here," the figure said, voice cold, eyes narrowing. "How did you find me?" My son stepped forward, unwavering. "You know why. You know what you did. And it ends tonight." I felt my pulse spike. The air seemed to thicken around us, every word loaded with the weight of secrets and lies. I wanted to speak, to demand answers, but my voice caught in my throat. All I could do was watch as he began to lay out the truth. The evidence from the envelope, the photos, the letters, everything that tied this person to the events that had torn our family apart. Anger flared inside me, mingling with relief and disbelief. 15 years of grief, of unanswered questions, of quiet suspicion, were now converging in this one confrontation. I could see the realization in their eyes, the sudden shift from confidence to fear. "You think you can undo what's been done?" the figure hissed. "I'm not here to undo it," my son said steadily. "I'm here to make sure it doesn't continue. I'm here to protect my family, and you won't be able to touch anyone else ever again." I felt a strange sense of pride, mingled with fear. Pride in the son I had buried in my heart, who had returned stronger, braver, more determined than I could have imagined. Fear for what could happen next, for the dangers that still lurked. But there was no turning back. The confrontation had begun, and the truth had to come out. Hours passed, or maybe minutes. Time had lost all meaning. We confronted each person who had been part of the deception, exposing lies, hidden agendas, and betrayal after betrayal. I listened, horrified and fascinated, as my son revealed the depths of their schemes, the reasons for his disappearance, and the careful planning he had undertaken to protect us all. Through it all, I held the envelope, reading each note, each confession, feeling the pieces of our lives fall into place. Every lie uncovered, every secret revealed, was a step toward closure, toward understanding, toward healing. Finally, as dawn approached and the first light of morning touched the town, the confrontations ended. The people who had caused so much pain were exposed, powerless, and the truth stood clear. My son turned to me, eyes weary but steady. "It's over, Mom. You can finally breathe." I took a deep breath, tears streaming down my face, relief and exhaustion mingling in a way I had never felt before. 15 years of grief, of unanswered questions, of hidden truths. It was finally coming to an end. And in that moment, standing in the pale light of morning with my son by my side, I realized something I hadn't felt in years. Hope. Real hope. the kind that comes not from dreams or wishes, but from facing the truth, no matter how painful, and surviving it together. The morning sun spilled over the town, pale and gentle, washing away the shadows of the night. My hands still shook from the confrontation, and my heart felt as if it had been pulled through a storm and laid bare. My son stood beside me, exhausted but steady, a silent reassurance in the aftermath of the chaos. For 15 years, I had carried grief like a weight around my neck. I had mourned him daily, whispered his name in empty rooms, clutched photographs that only reminded me of what was gone. And now he was here, not just in memory, not just in fleeting dreams, but alive, or something close enough to life that I could reach him, touch him, speak to him. We walked slowly back toward the pier, retracing the path that had brought me to him the night before. The water glimmered in the morning light, reflecting a clarity I hadn't felt in years. My mind wandered through the revelations, the secrets, the confrontations. I realized that what had been buried, grief, lies, fear, was now exposed. And exposure, painful as it was, felt like freedom. I turned to him, searching his face for any sign of weariness beyond the exhaustion I could see. "Charles, after all this, after everything, will things ever be normal?" My voice wavered, carrying the tremor of years of fear and hope. He shook his head, a small smile tugging at his lips. "Normal? I don't think we'll ever have that. But we can have truth. And we can have each other. That's enough, Mom." I wanted to believe him, to grasp at that truth like a lifeline. 15 years of longing and pain had taught me that hope was fragile. But now, standing in the soft morning light, I felt it taking root, stronger than grief, stronger than fear. We sat together on a bench overlooking the water, letting the breeze carry away the tension of the night. The town was waking up, unaware of the battles fought and won in the shadows. And yet for me, everything had changed. The son I had mourned was here. The secrets that had haunted me were revealed. The lies that had shaped my grief were broken. He pulled out a small photograph, one I hadn't seen before. It was him, younger, smiling at me from the pier. "I carried this with me, Mom," he said quietly. "Through everything, through hiding, through fear. I never forgot what home felt like, what love felt like." I held it close to my heart, tears streaming freely. "I never stopped loving you," I whispered. "Even in the darkest moments, even when I thought I'd lost you forever." He reached for my hand, squeezing it gently. "And I never stopped loving you either, Mom. That never changed. Nothing could take that from us." For a long time, we sat there in silence, watching the water shimmer in the rising sun. The past was heavy, yes, but it no longer had power over us. We had faced the shadows, uncovered the truth, and survived it together. And yet, as much as I wanted to feel complete, there was still a quiet ache in my chest, the bittersweet realization that 15 years of life had been lost. Memories we could never reclaim, moments stolen by secrets and fear. But within that ache was a warmth, a fragile hope that the future could be different, that we could rebuild what had been broken. Finally, he stood, holding my hand and looking out at the horizon. "Mom, whatever comes next, we face it together. No more secrets. No more lies." I nodded, squeezing his hand back, feeling a strength I hadn't known I still possessed. "Together," I whispered, letting the word linger in the morning air. As we walked back toward the town, side by side, I realized something profound. Life could be cruel, grief could be relentless, and secrets could hide in plain sight. But love, true love, endured. Even across years, even across death, it was unbreakable, and it had brought him back to me. And though the night had tested every ounce of my courage, the dawn promised something I hadn't felt in a long time. A chance to live again. With my son by my side and a heart slowly learning to heal. Because sometimes, the dead reach out not to frighten you, but to remind you that love never truly dies, and that the truth, no matter how painful, is the only way to find peace. And as I looked at him, my son, my miracle, I knew one thing for certain: nothing would ever be the same. And somehow that was exactly what I needed.